So imagine what happens now when you increase the sales activity, the marketing activity on 90 new customers. I mean, and they already know you. They already like you. They just forgot about you. Second, and this is margin thin how close this was, the second largest category was slow adopters. Here's the one that'll get you. 81% of all inquiries, I don't care what you call them, referrals, leads, walk-ins, I don't care what you call them, inquiries. Let's use that, leads. 81% are not hot when you receive them. Write that down. 81% are slow adopters. Our urgency to sell has absolutely no impact at all on their decision process. They're slow adopters. Salespeople? I got quota, pal. My job's on the line for this month, this quarter, this year. You know a sales rep that doesn't look at those bullets? You want me to go out there and baby these people? I haven't got time. I got closed deals. Of course they do. That doesn't mean management can let those go, but we did. And entrepreneurs had to because we didn't have these tools. We didn't have the A-Advantage program to take care of our frequent flyers. So orphans, slow adopters, sneezers is my hero Seth Godin's favorite word. He's talking about referral sources. And he said viral marketing, if you're going to get somebody to spread your virus, he said get somebody with a big nose. So they'll spray it around a lot. But that's third category of revenue, was recognizing that, here's another number for you for the stats. Only 5% of all of your customers that you will ever have, only 5% will ever refer anyone to you or anybody else. Did you know that? 95% will never refer to anyone, unless it's self-serving. So 5%. Now, here's the question. You're talking about rare diamonds. If only 5% of your customers do, how can you not acknowledge and appreciate and reward that 5%? But you got to identify them. You've got to be able to move them. And so here's the other part, by the way. The rule on referrals is this. The biggest single reason we don't get referrals is not unusual, and you've heard it all your life, right? Why? Don't ask. That's the biggest lie they ever told. That's not the reason we don't get referrals. The reason we don't get referrals is that most human beings can't sell worth spit. And they know it. Am I correct? They go, oh, no sales. That's somebody else. I don't do that. Now you got a good client out playing golf with a prospect. And they're talking about this pain the person has, and bingo, your customer is going, oh, you ought to know Harry. And he's thinking about the ball, and he's going, I don't know what the hell Harry does. He's a good guy. I think I'll just hit the ball. Goodbye, referral. So here's the other thing, by the way. If you want to get referrals, you've got to figure out who your referral sources are and feed them, just like you would a garden. But the key to it is that the contacts that you make with them are pretty unique. And this research was also interesting. We always believed it was a personal visit or a handwritten note to thank someone for just thinking of us. Interesting. When we did a study on what was the highest value to both parties, pretty amazing stuff. I always thought it was handwritten note would be the premier, the platinum thank you note. You get a 10, I'll guarantee you, handwritten, hand-signed note on a nice note card, a 10 on a 10 score. You keep your referrals flowing like magic. Isn't that something? Now, what happens, by the way, if you don't say thank you? You throw the switch off. That's all you do. Just by indifference. Had nothing to do with anger. So that's why all of this stuff seems like a dream come true to me when I look at the tools, and we are still in the same place that many of you are. We have less than a year, less than 6 months under our belt with this product, but we've certainly been around this stuff long enough to know that we've found that cure. We've found the tool that will fix this problem. Everybody knows what a whale is, right? Entrepreneurs usually get sunk by them. They're just too big. They just require too much, and they shut us off from everything else we're doing. So those were the 4 sources of money, though, by the way. They began to focus on those 4 categories of customers. We couldn't possibly have touched them 3 years ago. I guess we could have 3. 4 years ago we couldn't. Infusion wasn't here. We didn't have a prayer doing that. Yeah. Honeywell could probably do it. But they got 1,500 mainframes. But now we can do it. So here's the question you get to ask yourself. And I think you've already answered it because you're here and you wouldn't have taken it otherwise. But it simply says, CEO or farmer, the rule is still the same. As you sow, so you reap. I'm not a scientist, but if I were in farming today and I planted a potato, and if I were a betting person, if that potato came up, I'd be betting that's going to be a potato. What about you? I don't know about evolution. I mean, a couple million years, it might come up a pansy. But next year on my crop, I'm betting that's a potato. Am I correct? So then you start asking yourself, I can literally plant what I want. I can find the ones, the right size, the right type, the right business model. I can create a tapestry instead of just an accident. So, all right, I'm going to give you 4 words. I want you to write these down. The first word is identify. It's easy. All the words start with I. First word is identify. Now that you have the tools to touch, now you've got to figure out who to touch. And I'm the last person in the world to say everybody in your database. I think the most important exercise you can do once you install Infusion is to scrub that database with a Brillo pad. Because most of that stuff is garbage. If you ever do an ABC segmentation or ABCD segmentation, not hard to figure out what an A is, right? You're milky about what a C is, but I just say an A is an A, and we know one thing, it ain't a B. And it's usually better than a B, you know? And a C, by the way, is never going to be an A. A B can be, but C is never going to be an A. But they're never going to leave you either. They're bread and butter. The D's, by the way, are the whole bandwidth. 80% of the database are people we don't really know. We might have sold them something. They might have inquired. They got into the database. They're always too precious to throw away. So now that we've got these tools, so now we begin to say, what are the steps? Step number 1, identify. I'll give you this if you'd like to have this. This is not my stuff. Fortunately, I got this from research, but we came up with a form that was done by a man in Chicago, and it's called Relationships by Design. And I'll show you this. If you'd like to have this, in fact, Scott has it, and Infusionsoft has this material, and if you'd like to have it, I can see that you can get it, or you can send me an email, I'll send it to you. This is an amazing exercise for our size companies. You'll notice the top category across there says most important clients. So let's just talk about our babies, ours. And I only have 5 lines there, but there really should be 20. If you're going to start anything, 20 in research, 20 is sure better than 5. I just want to give you space to have different categories of constituencies, if you will. I don't want to spend the time with you trying to show you a form that you can't even see, and so I'll just tell you, though, that the first step is to identify what is an A. Anybody tell me what an A-level customer is in your company? I don't mean textbook. What's an A? Pardon? In my mind, that's a C. Maybe a D. What's an A? Yeah, ideal. Dream come true. How many A's do you have? What % of your database are A's? And by the way, where's your margin? A's, B's, C's, or D's? It's just amazing exercise. I didn't do this one. This was a guy in Chicago that introduced this at one of those research meetings, and he started telling these people about a process they'd come up with to analyze their marketplace because they now had software to do something with.
So I don't understand. What is an A? A dream come true?
Oh, an A, if you had the perfect client for us, perfect size, perfect buying cycles, etc., that's an A. Right? What's a B? It ain't an A. So you figure it out. Is an A $1 million a year? I don't care where you start. Then what's a B? $500,000? What's a C? $250,000? What's a D? Small change? I don't know. You get to figure that out. But now you start saying, where am I going to spend my money if I only have so much time, so much bandwidth, so much people? I may not want to spread out and broadcast to the entire planet every name I can buy from a list house. I may want to get serious. Start with your top 20 A-level customers. You get to decide what an A is. And by the way, until you decide what an A is, you will never know what a B is. And you can get in a lot of trouble because B's become A's. If you ignore them, they go ways. True, true. C's are your grandma. They're never going to go away. But they're never going to grow very much either. They're about what they are. So I'll send you this form because I think it's so important now that you have the tools to do this with, to begin to ask the question, what if I could have anything I wanted? What if I could have any type, any size, any SIC code, any type of, any number of people I wanted? And you've got that ability to ask that question now. So why not start with A's? Go through your database, figure out where the golden ones are if you want to use color. You know, and then what are the silvers? And then what's copper? What's lead? We know what's lead. Especially if we try to feed everybody in the database and pretend that they're all just as viable as all the rest. I broke that down into 4 segments because this, if I had been using this in a 4-hour presentation, we would have done a homework project for you. But the second one is most significant prospects. And I tell people, when you're doing this assessment, when you're assessing your prospects, take your top 10. You don't need top 20. Top 10 prospects right now for '09. Who have you got in your bullseye that you're going to win? Third one down there is most valuable player. Who's on your team? Got to feed your own crops too, you know. You got to feed your own people. Maybe you can't feed them all. Maybe all of them aren't worth it. But I'll bet you got 2 or 3 that are mission critical. One of them says bye-bye, and maybe we go bye-bye. So I think about it. I don't really talk about customers, or even though my second book was called Customer Relationship Management, I don't call them customers. I call them constituencies. Politicians like the word better too. You know? I mean, you just think about the different constituencies that you have, and now you have the capability to grow them into anything that you want them to be. So the first word was identify. Figure out who you're going to cultivate, who you're going to grow, who you're going to harvest. No farmer just goes out and throws seeds and says, come on, guys, have a good year, and I'll see you in October. You know? That's why drip irrigation came along. So now, second I, individualize. Anybody here ever have an FBI report or a CIA report done on you? I have a child-in-law who is a federal prosecutor. 3 of our family get visited every year by an FBI agent just to keep up to track to see if she's a decent person. Individualize, and I learned this from this prosecutor because she said, we don't keep files, we keep dossiers when we're dealing with people. We keep files on data and statistics. Isn't that something? We keep dossiers. How many of you keep dossiers on your A's? How many of you know the oldest child's name of your number 1 A-level customer? What's their dream come true? What's their passion? You know, what's their pain? What keeps them awake at night? That's individualize. I put 4 words on here. I said pain, passion, preference, and Google Alerts. Anybody use Google Alerts? Raise your hand. Show me. Everybody look around. Next year, I want 100% of hands up. You know what Google Alerts is? If I find your name and I want to know everything that happens to you that ever gets posted online, all I can do is go to Google. This is free. Click on More up on the bar, and it'll drop down about 6,000 things you can also do with Google, but one of them there is called Alerts. So, bam, it pops up a little frame. All I do is type in your name with quotes around it so that it's just your name. And I type in how often I want to have an alert sent to me about anything that appears about you online. Want to talk about content? You want to seem like somebody that's just all over that client? And all you're doing is just opening email and maybe sending them a copy of the email and said, I saw this morning. Anything I can do to help? Or hope you get more and more of these. Think of Google Alerts. Write that one down. Because you see, once you start communicating, once you start nourishing, that plant is going to grow or die based on what you feed it, the nourishment. That's why I said dossier. Get that information. Here's the pieces I want. People,